My beloved child, listen very carefully, because this message did not come by accident. Last night, while your body rested and your mind drifted between silence and thought, something tried to cross your boundary. You felt it, not always with fear, but with a strange shift, a heaviness, a pause in the air, a moment where time seemed to slow. And in that very moment, Archangel Michael stood watch. You were untouchable. This is not symbolic. This is not imagination. This was a real spiritual encounter, and it happened because you are marked. There was an assignment against your peace, against your clarity, against the next season of your life. But hear this clearly, it failed before it even reached you. You may have woken up suddenly, or you may have slept through it but felt unusual upon waking, tired without reason, emotional without explanation, or unusually calm after chaos. That was not random. That was protection in motion. When the attempt was made, a line was drawn in the spirit, and Archangel Michael enforced it with authority. Understand this. Boundaries are not just physical. You have spiritual borders, and not everything is permitted to cross them. Someone underestimated the covering over your life. Someone assumed you were exposed. Someone believed you were vulnerable in the quiet of the night. But heaven does not sleep. Archangel Michael says, I was assigned before the attempt was formed. That is why nothing touched you. That is why nothing followed you into today. There are forces that watch for moments of rest, moments of transition, moments when you are between decisions. Last night was such a moment. You are standing at the edge of change, whether you realize it fully or not. And whenever elevation is near, resistance tests the gates. But you are not unguarded. There was a crossing that did not happen. There was an entry that was denied. There was a voice that was silenced. You may be wondering, why me? Because you carry something that cannot be duplicated. Because your obedience, even when quiet, has consequences in the unseen. Because your prayers, especially the ones you thought were weak, were heard. Archangel Michael did not fight against you. He fought for you. Hear this revelation. The reason you were untouchable is not because nothing tried, but because authority outranked intention. The attempt was real. The resistance was intentional. But the protection was superior. Some of you were protected from confusion. Some from spiritual interference meant to delay your clarity. Some from a chain reaction that would have started with one small breach. But the breach never happened. And that is why this message is finding you now. There is something important you need to understand before moving forward. When an attack fails, it does not always come with noise. Sometimes it leaves behind questions. A sense of something almost happened. That feeling is confirmation, not fear. You were not shaken because the shield held. Archangel Michael says, do not replay the night in your mind trying to identify the threat. Focus on the avoiding that stood for you. The enemy wants analysis. Heaven wants alignment. Your boundary is reinforced now. Stronger than before. Wider than before. What tried to cross last night revealed where you are going next. Resistance does not show up unless movement is near. That is why this message carries urgency. There are people connected to you, some known, some unknown, who would have been affected if that boundary had been crossed. This protection was not only about you, it was about what flows through you. Your words, your decisions, your presence. Archangel Michael says, you are guarded because you are needed. Let that settle. You are not fragile. You are not late. You are not exposed. You are covered, authorized, and watched. As you listen to this, the protection continues. Here is a reinforcement happening even now. What failed last night will not be allowed to return in another form. The assignment has been revoked. And here is the most important part of this revelation. Do not miss this. The reason you needed to hear this today is because confidence must replace caution. Fear must not follow protection. You are meant to move forward without hesitation. The boundary is not shrinking. It is expanding. Archangel Michael says, walk as one who knows they are defended. Something tried. Something failed. And you remained untouchable. If this message is resonating deeply, it is because it is speaking directly to your spirit. And there is more you need to hear. Details that will bring clarity, confirmation, and direction for what comes next. My cherished one, there is a reason your spirit is alert right now. After protection comes revelation, and after revelation comes responsibility. What happened last night was not only about defense, it was about exposure. When Archangel Michael stood at your boundary, something was revealed in the unseen that you were never meant to carry into this next season. You need to understand this clearly. Some threats do not come to destroy immediately. Some come to study, to observe patterns, to test reactions, to see if fear still has access. What tried to approach you last night was attempting to gather information, not realizing that information itself is guarded in your life. That is why the intervention was swift. Archangel Michael says, they could not read what heaven has sealed. It is powerful. This explains why, for some time now, you have felt watched, not by people, but by pressure. A subtle sense that timing matters more than ever. That is not paranoia. That is discernment sharpening. When protection increases, awareness increases with it. You are no longer meant to be passive about your spiritual space. Not anxious, but intentional. There is a difference. Fear closes doors. Authority locks them with peace. Since that night, your boundary has been recalibrated. Some connections will feel different. Some conversations will suddenly feel unnecessary. Some invitations will quietly fall apart. Do not chase what dissolves. That is part of the protection working forward, not backward. Archangel Michael says, I did not only stop what came, I blocked what would have followed. Think about that. There are chains of events you will never see because they never got permission to begin. The enemy plans in sequences, but heaven interrupts at the root. That is why your life has moments where things almost happened, but didn't. You were spared outcomes you never even prayed against. Now hear this carefully, because this is where many people misunderstand divine protection. Being untouchable does not mean you stop moving. It means you move with greater boldness. Some of you have been shrinking your steps, thinking caution equals wisdom. But wisdom now requires confidence. You survived the night not to hide, but to advance. Archangel Michael is not standing behind you. He is positioned ahead of you. That means the path forward is already cleared of what cannot fall. You are not walking into uncertainty. You are walking into enforced territory. This is why hesitation has to end. You may feel a sudden push to speak something you have been holding back, to make a decision you have been delaying, to detach from something that no longer aligns. That is not impulse. That is alignment activating. Archangel Michael says, your obedience now prevents future battles. Do not ignore that inner nudge. And listen, this message did not find you randomly. If you are hearing this, you are part of a protected remnant. Others slept through the warning. Others dismissed the signal. But you leaned in. That already tells me something about your calling. This is also why it is important that you do not keep this message to yourself. When a word carries protection, it is meant to be shared. Someone else connected to you may be standing at a vulnerable threshold right now, unaware that help is available. So take a moment, show your agreement with this word. Like this message so it can reach who needs it. Share it with someone whose spirit you care about. Leave a comment declaring that you receive this protection. And if you have not yet aligned yourself fully with this channel, subscribe and join this growing circle of guarded ones. This is not just content, it is covering. Your engagement is not small. It moves the message beyond you. Now, before this part closes, I want you to feel this, not just hear it. Last night did not weaken you. It confirmed you. You are not recovering from anything. You are stepping out with clarity. The shield is still active. The authority is still present. And the reason you are hearing this now is because the next revelation builds on this foundation. There is more about why you were targeted and what is coming next that you need to understand. And trust me, what unfolds next will shift how you see recent events in your life. Hold on, because what comes next connects the protection to your purpose in a way you did not expect. Beloved one, now we arrive at the reason behind the resistance. Protection always points to purpose, and last night was not an isolated event. It was a response to what is awakening within you. Archangel Michael says this clearly. What stirred against you did so because something ancient inside you is coming alive. There are gifts that remain quiet for years, even decades, until the right alignment appears. When they begin to activate, the spiritual atmosphere around you changes. You may have noticed it already. Your tolerance for certain environments is gone. Your patience for shallow conversations has thinned. Your spirit has been craving truth, depth, and direction more intensely than before. That is not restlessness. That is recognition. You are stepping into awareness. What tried to cross your boundary sensed that shift. Not the details, just the signal. In the unseen, activation releases a frequency. It announces movement, and movement always attracts attention. But attention does not equal access. Archangel Michael says they sense the sound, but not the source. This is important. Whatever attempted to approach you did not fully understand who you are becoming. It only recognized that your life is no longer dormant. That is why the protection was immediate and firm. Heaven does not wait until harm is close. It responds when purpose begins to breathe. Some of you have been asking quietly, why does it feel like everything is changing at once? Relationships, priorities, even your sense of time feels different. That is because you are shifting from survival into assignment, from maintenance into movement, from being led into being positioned. And with that shift comes a recalibration of authority. Last night marked a line between who you were and who you are becoming. That is why the boundary mattered so much. If the crossing had succeeded, it would not have destroyed you, but it would have delayed you. Confusion would have crept in. Doubt would have lingered. Momentum would have slowed. But delay was denied. Archangel Michael says, your yes was protected before you spoke it. That tells me something profound. Decisions are forming in your spirit even before your mind articulates them. Heaven is responding to your future obedience, not just your past faithfulness. That is rare. Now listen closely. There is a message within this protection that many miss. You are not meant to confront everything. You are meant to be selective. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every disturbance requires your response. Last night proved that some things are handled without your involvement at all. Your role is alignment, not warfare. That is why peace is returning faster than before. That is why what once lingered now passes quickly. Your nervous system is learning what safety feels like again, and that is intentional. You cannot carry revelation while living in constant tension. Archangel Michael says, rest is now part of your assignment. Let that reset your thinking. Rest is not retreat. It is preparation. As this awareness settles, you may begin to notice subtle confirmations, repeating phrases, unexpected reassurance, moments of clarity that feel almost downloaded. These are not coincidences. They are seals. Heaven confirming that you are moving correctly. And here is where I need you to stay open. The protection you experienced is not only about guarding you from what you cannot see. It is also about preparing you to see differently. Discernment sharpens after protection because fear no longer clouds perception. You will begin to recognize what belongs and what does not with less effort. Choices will simplify. Paths will clarify. This is why this message carries such weight. You were not spared to remain the same. You were guarded to be revealed. Archangel Michael stands not only as defender, but as witness. Witness to your growth. Witness to your readiness. Witness to the authority being restored to you piece by piece. And now, before this part closes, there is a ritual of agreement that seals what has been spoken. Type I receive divine protection in the comments if this message is confirming what your spirit already knows. Lesson code 941 has just been released. This moment you are standing in is not just for you. When you sow into this word, you help light reach others who were almost crossed, almost touched, almost delayed. The Lord says, those who water will themselves be watered, and tonight that promise is alive and breathing. I am asking you, as one who has just witnessed protection, to release a seed so this covering can reach another soul. Let your giving become oil in the lamp, fire on the altar, and light on someone else's dark night. This is a prophetic response, not a donation. Support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal. The link is waiting for you in the description. Do it now, and may what protected you multiply over your household. My beloved one, now that you understand the protection and the purpose behind it, there is something deeper that must be revealed. Protection is never random, and awakening is never accidental. Archangel Michael says this moment marks the beginning of discernment you did not have access to before. You are not just being guarded, you are being educated in the spirit. Since that night, subtle shifts have already begun. You may not be able to explain them logically, but you feel them internally. Your reactions are changing. What once pulled you into emotional loops now feels distant. Situations that used to drain you no longer have the same grip. That is not because circumstances improved overnight. It is because your position changed. Archangel Michael says, you are no longer standing where you used to stand. This is crucial. When position changes, perspective changes automatically. You start seeing motives more clearly. You notice patterns you once excused. You feel an inner pause before responding where you once reacted instantly. This is not hesitation. It is authority learning restraint. Here is what many people misunderstand. Elevation does not always feel like excitement. Sometimes it feels like quiet separation, holy distancing. You are still present, still loving, still engaged, but no longer entangled. That is intentional. Heaven is creating space around you so clarity can grow without interference. This is why some connections are feeling awkward lately. Not broken, just misaligned. You have not done anything wrong. You have simply outgrown the frequency where those relationships were formed. Growth often feels like loss before it feels like gain. Archangel Michael says, "Do not grieve what cannot follow you." That statement carries weight. Some things are not being removed as punishment but as preparation. You cannot carry everything into the next phase. Your spirit knows this, even if your emotions are still catching up. Now listen carefully to this next revelation. What tried to cross your boundary was not only testing access, it was testing identity. The question was not, can we reach them? The question was, do they know who they are yet? And heaven answered that question on your behalf. You may not fully know yet, but you are learning fast. This is why confidence is beginning to replace self-questioning. You still reflect, but you no longer self-accuse. You still evaluate, but you no longer condemn yourself. That inner voice has softened, and the constant need to justify yourself is fading. That is a sign of alignment. Archangel Michael says, when identity settles, noise loses power. Expect more quiet confidence in the days ahead. Not arrogance, not withdrawal, but a steady knowing that does not need applause or permission. You will start choosing peace faster. You will say no without guilt. You will walk away without explanation. And you will feel no need to defend what God is defending. This is where maturity shows up. There is also something else happening beneath the surface. Your intuition is being recalibrated. Dreams may become more vivid. Insights may come suddenly. You might feel prompted to pray at unexpected moments or think of someone you have not spoken to in a long time. These are not distractions. These are signals. Heaven is expanding your sensitivity, not to overwhelm you, but to guide you. Archangel Michael says, you are being trained to notice without absorbing. It is powerful. You will perceive without caring. You will sense without suffering. You will understand without entanglement. This is a skill that only comes after protection has been established. Be patient with yourself as this unfolds. Growth does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers through subtle changes in how you respond to pressure. You are doing better than you realize. And now, there is a warning, not of danger, but of awareness. Do not rush this season. Do not try to explain it to people who are not meant to understand it. Some things mature best in silence. Oversharing can invite confusion. Let fruit speak later. For now, let roots go deep. Archangel Michael says, what is hidden now will be evident soon enough. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust the protection that did not fail you when you were asleep. That same authority is active while you are awake. There will be moments soon where you will look back at recent events and realize how close things came without ever touching you. When that realization hits, gratitude will rise naturally. Let it. Gratitude anchors protection. You are not moving blindly. You are being led deliberately. And as this part closes, rest in this truth. You are not behind. You are not confused. You are not exposed. You are transitioning, carefully, intentionally, and under watchful authority. Archangel Michael is not done revealing what this protection unlocked. What unfolds next will connect this awakening to very real decisions ahead, decisions that shape the next chapter of your life. Remain open. Remain grounded. Remain confident. You are exactly where you need to be. My beloved one, as the layers continue to unfold, it is time to understand what this protection has truly positioned you for. There is a reason clarity is increasing and confusion is losing its grip. Archangel Michael says this season is about decision alignment, the kind of alignment that determines outcomes for years, not days. You are approaching choices that will not look dramatic on the surface, yet they carry long-term consequence. Small shifts in direction, quiet yeses and nos, subtle endings and intentional beginnings. These decisions are forming now in your spirit before they appear in your calendar or conversations. That is why protection came first. When heaven knows that your next choice carries weight, it secures the environment in which that choice is made. Fear distorts discernment. Pressure rushes wisdom. But peace produces accuracy. Last night ensured that your discernment would not be clouded. Archangel Michael says, I guarded the space so truth could speak. Pay attention to what feels clear lately. Not exciting, clear. Excitement can be emotional. Clarity is grounded. You are being trained to trust what settles your spirit, not what stimulates it. This is a major shift for some of you who were conditioned to equate intensity with confirmation. You will begin noticing that urgency is fading. Not momentum, but urgency. There is a difference. Momentum is steady movement. Urgency is panic disguised as purpose. Heaven removes urgency when alignment is near. That is why you no longer feel rushed to prove anything. Now, there is something important you need to hear without resistance. Some of the delays you experienced recently were not obstacles, they were buffers. You were frustrated because progress seemed slow. But those pauses prevented premature exposure. They kept you from stepping into something before you were internally ready. Archangel Michael says, timing protected you more than speed ever could. Let that reframe your past weeks or months. What you thought was stagnation was insulation. What felt like waiting was shielding. And now that the boundary has been reinforced, movement can resume without compromise. This is also why certain fears have lost their emotional charge. You still remember them, but they no longer control you. That means healing has crossed from understanding into embodiment. Your body is learning safety. Your nervous system is learning trust. This matters more than you think. You cannot sustain elevation if your inner world is still bracing for impact. Heaven stabilizes before it accelerates. And stabilization is happening now. Archangel Michael says, you are no longer bracing. You are breathing. There will be moments soon where you surprise yourself with how calmly you handle situations that once overwhelmed you. That is not numbness. That is strength integrating quietly. And now, let us talk about relationships, because this is where many of these aligned decisions will surface. Some people will step closer in this season, not because they need you, but because they recognize you. Others will step back, not because of conflict, but because resonance has shifted. Do not interpret distance as rejection. Sometimes distance is protection for both sides. You are not meant to convince anyone of your growth. Archangel Michael says, those assigned will recognize the sound of alignment. Trust that. Stop over-explaining. Stop adjusting yourself to maintain access. Access is now granted by alignment, not effort. This also applies to opportunities. What is meant for you will not require self-betrayal. It will not demand that you abandon your values or exhaust your spirit. It will meet you in peace, not pressure. That is your new filter. If it costs you your peace, it costs too much. This does not mean everything will be easy. Growth still stretches. But there is a difference between stretching and straining. One expands you. The other depletes you. Learn to tell them apart. Archangel Michael says, I will not lead you into strain. As this awareness deepens, you may feel called to simplify. to declutter not just your space, but your schedule, your commitments, your mental loops. Simplification creates room for clarity. Clarity invites confidence. Confidence sustains authority. This is a sacred process. Do not rush it. And finally, hear this reassurance because some of you need it deeply. You did not imagine the night. You did not exaggerate the shift. You are not reading too much into this. Your spirit recognized a moment of divine intervention, and your mind is catching up. Archangel Michael remains on assignment, not because danger is looming, but because destiny is unfolding. Protection stays until positioning is complete. You are being led with precision, not pressure, with intention, not fear. And what is coming next will require this exact level of clarity, calm, and confidence. You are being prepared, not hurried, not tested, not overwhelmed. Prepare. Remain attentive. Remain grounded. Remain willing. The path ahead is opening, and you are ready to walk it. Beloved one, now we move into a phase where awareness must turn into action. Not emotional reaction, but intentional movement. Archangel Michael says this is the moment where inner alignment begins to express itself outwardly. What has been settling within you will soon be visible through your choices, your tone, and your direction. You may notice that you are no longer drawn to chaos, even when it tries to invite you in. Situations that once demanded your emotional energy now feel optional. You are learning discernment not as a defense mechanism, but as a leadership skill. This is a sign of maturity in the spirit. Archangel Michael says, you are no longer learning what to avoid. You are learning what to choose. That shift is powerful. Choosing requires clarity. Avoiding requires fear. And fear is losing its influence in your life. That is why you feel steadier, even when circumstances remain uncertain. Your peace is no longer dependent on outcomes. It is rooted in identity. This is where many people misunderstand growth. They assume that once protection comes, everything becomes easy. But that is not the goal. The goal is confidence without control, movement without anxiety, decisions without second guessing. You are entering a season where your inner world is strong enough to handle visible responsibility. Some of you will soon be asked to step up in conversation, in leadership, in honesty, or in presence. Not in a dramatic way, but in a way that requires you to stand fully in who you are without shrinking or overperforming. Archangel Michael says, stand as you are. That is enough. Let that remove the pressure to become something else before acting. You do not need more preparation. You need trust in what has already been established within you. Now hear this clearly, because it will save you unnecessary stress. You are not meant to respond to everything that reaches you. Access does not equal assignment. Just because you can engage does not mean you should. Discernment now includes knowing when silence is strength. This is especially important in conversations. You may notice that you are speaking less, but saying more. When you do speak, your words carry weight. That is not because you are trying harder. It is because you are aligned. Archangel Michael says authority does not raise its voice. Trust that. There is also a cleansing happening in your emotional space. Old guilt patterns are loosening. Regret is losing its grip. You are beginning to forgive yourself without needing external validation. This is not arrogance. This is healing. When self-forgiveness arrives, clarity follows. That is why your future is starting to feel more accessible. Not overwhelming, accessible. You are no longer imagining it from a distance. You are beginning to sense it as reachable. This is also why distractions are becoming less appealing. Things that once filled time now feel empty. This is not boredom. It is focus forming. Archangel Michael says, "What no longer feeds you will no longer hold you." Allow yourself to release what no longer fits without explanation or apology. Now pause here for a moment, because this message is not meant to move past you quickly. If this word is resonating, take a second to show your agreement. Like this message so it continues to reach those who are being guarded and awakened. Share it with someone who needs reassurance that protection is real. Leave a comment declaring that you are walking forward without fear. And if you have not already, subscribe and stay connected. This space is becoming a place of alignment and clarity for many. And before this part closes, stay with me, because what is coming next brings a surprising confirmation about something you thought was delayed but was actually being protected. Trust me, you will want to hear this. As this season continues, remember this truth: you are not being tested to see if you are strong enough. You are being positioned because you already are. Archangel Michael remains present, not because you are weak, but because what you are carrying matters. Your calm is not accidental. Your clarity is not temporary. Your protection is not ending. You are walking forward with authority, awareness, and assurance. And the next revelation will connect all of this to a specific area of your life that has been waiting quietly for change. My beloved one, now we arrive at a quiet but powerful turning point. Everything you have heard so far has been preparing you for this realization. The protection you experienced was not only about what tried to reach you, but about what is now ready to reach through you. Archangel Michael says this is the stage where influence begins to awaken. Influence does not always look like leadership on a platform or visibility in front of others. Often, it begins in private moments: how you speak when no one is watching, how you choose peace instead of control, how you respond with wisdom instead of impulse. These small shifts carry far more weight than you realize. You are becoming someone whose presence stabilizes rooms. That is why your energy feels different lately. Not louder, not forceful, just grounded. People may feel calmer around you without knowing why. Some may open up unexpectedly. Others may feel exposed and pulled back. Both reactions are normal when clarity enters a space that was used to confusion. Archangel Michael says, "Light does not chase, it reveals." You are not meant to convince, correct, or rescue anyone. Your role is not to manage outcomes. Your role is to remain aligned. Alignment does the work without effort. This is also why your tolerance for emotional games is disappearing. You see through them now, not with judgment, but with understanding. You no longer need to participate to feel secure. That is growth taking root. And now, hear this carefully. There is a specific area of your life where you have been waiting for confirmation. You asked for a sign. You asked for reassurance. You asked for clarity. And the answer came through protection first. That is because clarity without safety can be overwhelming. Heaven made sure you were ready to receive truth without fear. Archangel Michael says the answer you seek is already forming. Do not rush it. Revelation unfolds in layers. The first layer was protection. The second was awareness. The third is confidence. And now comes direction. Direction often feels subtle at first. A recurring thought, a gentle nudge, a sense of rightness that does not come with adrenaline. Pay attention to what keeps returning calmly, not forcefully. What persists in peace is usually guidance. You may also notice that your prayers are changing. You are asking fewer desperate questions and making more grounded declarations. That shift matters. It signals trust replacing anxiety. Archangel Michael says, when trust rises, instruction becomes clear. This is why your inner dialogue is quieter, not empty, focused. The noise has reduced so the signal can strengthen. There is also something else happening that you may not have named yet. You are reclaiming authority over your own time. You are becoming more intentional about where your energy goes. You no longer feel obligated to be constantly available. This is not selfishness. This is stewardship. You cannot protect what you do not value. And now that you value your peace, your clarity, and your calling, you are naturally guarding them. This aligns perfectly with the protection that was placed around you. Heaven protects what you choose to honor. Archangel Michael says, agreement strengthens covering. Let that sink in. The more you align your choices with what heaven is doing, the less resistance you encounter. Not because challenges disappear, but because they no longer derail you. Some of you will soon notice a shift in how problems present themselves. They will feel more manageable, less personal, less consuming. That is because you are no longer identifying with them. You are addressing them from a place of authority, not fear. This is a crucial transition. You are moving from asking, "Why is this happening to me?" to stating, "I know how to move through this." The change alone alters outcomes. Archangel Michael says, you are not here to be overwhelmed. You are here to be effective. Effectiveness does not require intensity. It requires alignment. As this part comes to a close, take a moment to notice how you feel right now. Not emotionally, internally. There is likely a sense of steadiness but quiet assurance. That is confirmation. Your spirit recognizes truth when it hears it. You are not imagining this season. You are not exaggerating the shift. And you are not alone in it. Protection is still active. Guidance is still unfolding. And what is being prepared next will bring tangible movement into areas that once felt stuck. Remain attentive. Remain grounded. Remain willing to trust what is unfolding without forcing it. You are stepping into influence, not by trying to lead, but by choosing alignment. And what comes next will reveal how this inner transformation begins to show up in your outer world. Beloved one, this is where the unseen begins to cross into the visible. Everything that has been forming quietly within you is preparing to express itself outwardly, not in chaos, not in force, but in unmistakable alignment. Archangel Michael says this stage is about manifested clarity, when inner certainty starts shaping external reality. You may have noticed recently that situations are resolving themselves without you pushing. Conversations are ending naturally. Opportunities are either opening cleanly or closing without confusion. That is not coincidence. That is alignment asserting itself. When your inner world comes into order, the outer world responds. This is why you feel less reactive. You are no longer trying to control outcomes. You are cooperating with direction. Archangel Michael says, what flows in order no longer resists. This is a major shift for those of you who carried responsibility too early, who learned to manage instability before you learned to rest. And now, you are learning a new rhythm, one where effort is not the source of progress. Alignment is. There is also a deep reassurance settling into your spirit, and knowing that even if plans change, you will be guided. Even if something ends, you will not be lost. This is trust maturing. You are no longer asking for guarantees. You are walking with confidence that guidance will meet you step by step. This is important, because what is coming next will require movement without full visibility. Not blindness, trust. the kind that comes from repeated confirmation, not blind belief. Archangel Michael says you have seen enough to walk forward. Now hear this carefully. Some of you are about to step into conversations that will feel pivotal, not confrontational but clarifying. Words you speak soon will set tone and direction for others. That is why your discernment has been sharpened. You will know when to speak and when to remain silent. Your voice is gaining weight. Not volume, weight. This means your words will land differently. They will linger. They will bring resolution or reveal truth. This is not something to fear. It is something to steward. Archangel Michael says, speak only what aligns with peace. When you do, you will notice that clarity follows. Confusion will retreat. Resistance will soften. Not because you argued better, but because truth carries its own authority. There is also a release happening now, one you may not have consciously acknowledged yet. You are letting go of the need to be understood by everyone. This is a sign of maturity. You are becoming comfortable being misunderstood by those who are not meant to walk with you. This does not make you distant. It makes you free. Freedom is not the absence of responsibility. It is the absence of false obligation. As this settles, you may feel lighter, less burdened by expectations that were never assigned to you. That is intentional. You cannot step fully into what is ahead while carrying what belongs to the past. Archangel Michael says, lay down what was never yours. Trust that what truly belongs to you will remain without effort. And now, let us talk about timing. Many of you have been asking when. When will things move? When will clarity turn into action? When will change become visible? The answer is closer than you think, but it is arriving in sequence, not all at once. Protection came first. Awareness followed. Alignment settled. Now comes release. Release of opportunities. Release of direction. Release of movement that feels natural instead of forced. You will not have to chase what is meant for you. You will recognize it by the absence of strain. Archangel Michael says, what is from God arrives with peace. As this part comes to its close, there is a sealing that must happen. This is not ritual for ritual's sake. It is agreement. Agreement activates alignment. Type I walk in divine order in the comments if your spirit is receiving this word. Blessing code 1884 is now activated. What you are experiencing right now is not just for your life. It is meant to flow through you to others who are still unprotected, still confused, still searching. The Lord declares, those who sow into my work will see rivers rise where there were dry places. I am speaking to you directly. Your support in this moment becomes light for another soul standing in the dark. When you give through super thanks, membership, or PayPal in the description, you are responding prophetically, not financially. Do not delay what obedience is stirring. Release your seed now, and may divine order overflow into every area of your life. Rest here for a moment. Let this settle. What comes next will connect this inner alignment to a very real breakthrough you have been quietly hoping for, and it will make sense of delays you once questioned. My beloved one, now the message moves into a place of integration. Everything revealed so far has been building toward this moment where understanding becomes embodied truth. Archangel Michael says this phase is about stability after revelation. Not excitement, not urgency, but grounded certainty. When truth first arrives, it often feels intense. But when truth settles, it feels calm. That calm you are sensing now is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of confidence. You are no longer asking whether you are protected. You know you are. and knowing changes how you carry yourself. This is where many transformations fail for others, but not for you. Some people receive revelation and rush to act before it roots. Others overthink until momentum fades. You are being guided differently. You are being allowed to stabilize so what comes next can last. Archangel Michael says, I steady what I intend to sustain. That is why nothing feels rushed right now. Heaven is not in a hurry. Precision matters more than speed. And you are learning to trust timing without resisting movement. You may notice that your internal reactions have slowed down. Not in a dull way, but in a discerning way. You are responding instead of reacting. Observing instead of absorbing. This is not withdrawal. This is mastery forming. Mastery does not announce itself. It reveals itself through consistency. There is also something happening with your memory. Old moments may surface, not to haunt you, but to be reprocessed with new understanding. Things that once carried shame or regret are losing their emotional charge. You can look back without being pulled back. That is healing reaching completion. Archangel Michael says, what no longer wounds no longer controls. This matters deeply, because unresolved memory can sabotage future clarity. But you are being released from emotional loops that once drained you. The past no longer has leverage. It has context, but not authority. And now, listen closely to this next truth. Your protection did not only stop something external, it also sealed something internal, and marked the end of a season where you doubted your own discernment. You are no longer second-guessing what you sense. You are learning to trust the quiet yes and the calm no. This is especially important as you move into conversations and decisions ahead. Some choices will not come with dramatic signs. They will come with peace. That peace is the confirmation. Archangel Michael says, if it requires anxiety to choose it, it is not from me. Let that become your filter. You will also notice a shift in how you handle uncertainty. Instead of trying to eliminate it, you are learning to walk with it calmly. This does not mean you lack direction. It means you trust guidance to meet you in motion. Uncertainty no longer paralyzes you. It sharpens your attention. This is a sign of maturity in the spirit. There may also be moments where others question your calm. They may not understand why you are not reacting the way you used to. Do not explain yourself. Your peace does not need justification. Those who are meant to understand will feel it without explanation. Archangel Michael says, let your steadiness speak. As this integration continues, your boundaries will feel natural, not defensive. You will say no without tension. You will say yes without fear. You will disengage without guilt. These are signs that protection has become internalized. You are no longer guarded only from the outside. You are grounded on the inside. This is also where discernment becomes generosity. You will know when to give energy and when to conserve it, when to lean in and when to step back. This balance prevents burnout and preserves clarity. You are learning stewardship of self. And now, there is one more reassurance you need to hear before moving forward. Nothing that was blocked last night is circling back. The assignment was canceled, not postponed. You do not need to stay alert in fear. Vigilance is different from anxiety. You are vigilant through peace, not tension. Archangel Michael says, what is finished will not return. That means you are free to move forward without looking over your shoulder. Confidence must replace caution now. Not recklessness, but trust. Trust in the guidance that has proven itself. Trust in the protection that did not fail. Trust in the clarity that is settling. You are not standing at the edge anymore. You are already on the path. As this part closes, let yourself rest in this truth. You are not waiting for something to begin. It has already begun. The shift has already taken place. You are simply learning to live from it. And what comes next will invite you to participate more actively in what has been prepared, without pressure, without fear, and without doubt. Remain present. Remain grounded. Remain open. You are walking forward, and the way is clear. My beloved one, now we enter a phase where participation becomes essential. Not striving, not forcing, but consciously cooperating with what has already been set in motion. Archangel Michael says this is the moment where awareness turns into partnership. Heaven has done its part, and now you are being invited to walk in step with it. You may feel a stronger sense of responsibility rising, not heavy, not overwhelming, but purposeful. A quiet knowing that your choices matter more now, that what you allow, what you tolerate, and what you release will shape the flow of what comes next. This is not pressure. This is trust being extended to you. Archangel Michael says, you are trusted with momentum. Momentum is delicate. It grows when honored and fades when ignored. That is why your attention matters in this season. Not obsessive focus, but intentional presence. Being where you are, doing what is in front of you, listening when guidance whispers instead of waiting for it to shout. This is where many people miss divine movement. They expect fireworks, but heaven often moves through consistency. Through small daily alignments that compound into breakthrough. You are learning to recognize these moments. You may notice that your intuition now nudges you toward simple but meaningful actions. Sending a message, postponing a decision, resting when you would normally push, speaking up when you would usually stay quiet. These are not random impulses. They are course corrections. Archangel Michael says, follow the quiet leadings. They are keeping you on the path that was protected for you. There is also an invitation in this season to become more vocal about what you value. Not argumentative, not defensive, but clear. Clarity attracts alignment. When you state what matters to you, what aligns with you draws closer, and what does not naturally falls away. This applies to relationships, work, time, and even thought patterns. You are no longer meant to carry conflicting priorities. Divine brain's energy. Alignment restores it. That is why simplification keeps appearing in your life. Fewer distractions. Fewer obligations. Fewer emotional entanglements. This is not loss. This is focus being refined. Archangel Michael says, I clear what competes with your calling. Trust the process, even when it feels quiet. Now, there is something important you must not overlook. Your engagement with this message is not passive. It is participatory. When you agree with truth, it strengthens alignment. When you declare it, it anchors clarity. That is why interaction matters. If this message is resonating, take a moment to like it so it continues reaching those who need reassurance and protection. Share it with someone who hath been questioning your recent experiences. Leave a comment declaring that you are walking forward with confidence. And if you have not already, subscribe and stay connected. This space is becoming a place where many are finding stability and direction. Your participation amplifies the message beyond you. Now stay with me, because this next realization is crucial, and it connects directly to something you have been waiting to understand. This is where it all begins to make sense. You have been wondering why certain doors did not open when you expected them to. Why progress felt delayed even when you were doing everything right. Why effort did not always match outcome. The answer is simpler than you think. You are being aligned, not denied. Archangel Michael says, what you avoided was as important as what you gained. Some paths were blocked because they would have required you to shrink. Some opportunities were delayed because they would have arrived too early. Some relationships ended because they could not survive your growth. This was not punishment. It was precision. And now that alignment has settled, movement will feel different. Not frantic, not uncertain, but steady. You will not need to convince yourself that you are on the right path. You will feel it in your body, in your breath, in your peace. This is the kind of assurance that cannot be shaken by external noise. As this season unfolds, you will also notice that resistance no longer intimidates you. It may appear, but it no longer defines your direction. You are learning to move forward without waiting for perfect conditions. Archangel Michael says, move when peace agrees, not when fear disappears. Fear may still whisper occasionally. That does not mean you stop. It means you do not listen. And finally, hear this promise as this part closes. You are not walking alone. You are not guessing. You are not exposed. The same authority that guarded you in the night is guiding you in the day. What is unfolding now will reward your patience, honor your growth, and confirm what your spirit already knows. Remain engaged. Remain intentional. Remain open. Because what comes next will reveal how close you truly are to the breakthrough you have quietly hoped for. My beloved one, now we move into the quiet convergence, the place where everything you have sensed, learned, and stabilized begins to line up at once. Archangel Michael says this stage is about confirmation through alignment, not through signs that shock you, but through patterns that finally make sense. You may begin to notice that different areas of your life are no longer pulling you in opposite directions. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your decisions are starting to agree with one another. That inner conflict you once carried, wanting one thing but choosing another, is dissolving. Unity is forming within you, and unity produces power. This is not accidental. When internal division ends, external resistance weakens. Archangel Michael says, what is whole cannot be easily shaken. This is why you feel more settled, even when you do not have every answer. You are no longer relying on constant reassurance. You are relying on alignment. And alignment speaks quietly but consistently. Now, there is something important happening in how you perceive yourself. You are no longer defining your identity by past roles, past mistakes, or past seasons. You are beginning to see yourself as you are now, capable, aware, and entrusted. That shift changes everything. When you see yourself clearly, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop accepting confusion as normal. You stop explaining your boundaries. You simply lie from truth. Archangel Michael says, clarity removes the need for defense. You may notice that your emotional reactions are less intense. Not because you care less, but because you are more grounded. You are no longer pulled into extremes. Balance has replaced volatility. This balance is not boring. It is powerful. It allows you to respond wisely instead of urgently. It allows you to pause without panicking. It allows you to move forward without dragging the past behind you. There is also a refinement happening in how you hear guidance. You are learning to distinguish between intuition and impulse, between fear-based thoughts and peace-based direction. This discernment is becoming natural, not effortful. Archangel Michael says, you recognize my voice because you are no longer overwhelmed by noise. Silence has become a place of clarity for you, not discomfort. Stillness no longer feels empty. It feels full of awareness. This is a sign of maturity that few reach. Now listen carefully, because this next truth brings reassurance. Nothing you went through recently was wasted. Even the moments that felt confusing, delayed, or unnecessary were shaping your capacity to hold what is coming. Capacity matters more than speed. You cannot sustain what you are not prepared to carry, and you are being prepared thoroughly. Archangel Michael says, "I do not rush what must last." This is why the process unfolded in stages: protection, awareness, alignment, stability, partnership, and now, confirmation. You are beginning to see evidence, not dramatic miracles, but subtle confirmations. Things working out without struggle, conversations resolving peacefully, doors opening at the right time instead of all at once. This is divine order expressing itself. You may also notice that you are less interested in explaining your journey to others. Not because you are secretive, but because you are content. Contentment does not need validation. It rests in knowing. This does not mean you are finished growing. It means you are growing from a place of security, not striving. There is also a gentle reminder coming through now. Do not romanticize past seasons. They served their purpose, but they are complete. Looking back too often can pull your attention away from what is forming now. Gratitude honors the past. Attachment keeps you there. Archangel Michael says, "Honor what was, but live in what is unfolding." As you do, you will notice your confidence strengthening, not the loud kind, but the steady kind. The kind that does not need comparison. The kind that does not fear competition. The kind that trusts timing. This confidence will guide your next steps naturally. And now, before moving forward, receive this reassurance deeply. You are not missing anything. You are not late to anything. You are not behind anyone. Your path is unfolding at the exact pace required to sustain what you are stepping into. The protection that began this journey did not end with safety. It matured into guidance. Guidance has now matured into alignment. And alignment is producing peace. Archangel Michael remains near, not because danger is imminent, but because destiny is active. As this part closes, remain present with yourself. Notice how much calmer your inner world feels compared to before. That is evidence. Notice how much clearer your direction feels without forcing it. That is confirmation. And what comes next will bring a final sealing, one that turns all of this inward work into outward assurance. You are closer than you think. Remain steady. Remain trusting. Remain open. The final unfolding is at hand. My beloved one, this is the sealing moment. Not the end, but the point where everything you have received settles into certainty. Archangel Michael says this is the hour of assurance, where protection, clarity, alignment, and movement come together as one truth you can stand on without wavering. You are no longer processing what happened. You are living from it. There is a deep calm surrounding you now, one that does not depend on circumstances behaving perfectly. This calm comes from knowing that you are not exposed, not guessing, not hoping blindly. You have experienced evidence. You have walked through layers of confirmation. And now, your spirit knows how to recognize divine order when it is present. This is why fear no longer has the same voice. Fear speaks loudly when identity is uncertain. But identity has settled in you. You know who you are becoming, even if every detail is not visible yet. You trust the process because you have seen it protect you when you were unaware, guide you when you were uncertain, and steady you when you were ready to run. Archangel Michael says, "What is sealed cannot be undone." That protection from the night you first heard about was not temporary. It was declarative. It marked you as one who is guarded while moving forward, not one who must constantly look back. This is important because the season ahead will require forward focus. You will be invited into moments that confirm your growth, moments where you would have reacted differently before. But now you respond with clarity. Situations where you would have doubted yourself, but now you trust your discernment. Conversations where you would have stayed silent out of fear, but now you speak with calm authority. These are not small victories. These are signs of integration. You are no longer learning the lesson. You are embodying it. Archangel Michael says, you have crossed from preparation into readiness. Readiness does not mean everything is complete. It means you are stable enough to walk as things continue to unfold. You do not need perfect conditions. You need alignment, and that is already present. There will still be challenges ahead, but they will not feel like threats to your identity. They will feel like tasks to navigate, problems to solve, moments to apply what you have learned. This is how you know you have grown. You are not asking, will I survive this? You are saying, I know how to move through this. That shift changes outcomes. And now, hear this final reassurance clearly. Nothing that was meant to reach you and bless you was lost during the delay. Nothing that was meant to grow you was missed. And nothing that was blocked was necessary for your future. What was removed made room. What was delayed built capacity. What was protected prepared you. Archangel Michael says, you are standing exactly where you should be. As you move forward from this message, do not wait for another dramatic sign. Let peace be your indicator. Let clarity be your confirmation. Let alignment be your assurance. You are no longer asking whether you are untouchable. You are living as one who knows they are covered. And now, this journey is sealed with agreement. Type I walk under divine covering in the comments if you receive this word fully. Blessing code 7029 is now activated. This word did not end in protection. It opened a gate for purpose. And now the Spirit says, those who build with me will never lack my covering. I am speaking to you personally. Your support right now becomes a living seed that carries this message to souls who are still standing unguarded at their boundary. This is not a donation. This is obedience responding to alignment. Release your support through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal. The link is waiting in the description. Do it now, without hesitation. And may the same hand that shielded you multiply peace, provision, and authority over everything connected to your life.